OHSU-PSU School of Public Health, a certificate in human lactation program. We are here today to celebrate National Breastfeeding Month, and this week's conversation is going to be about our Latina breastfeeding families, breastfeeding community, is our specific focus. Before we move forward though, I'm going to have one of our guest speakers actually kind of poll anybody who's interested in having some conversation in both English and Spanish, and you can just put comments in the comment section if you prefer, one or the other.
So go ahead, Veronica, yes.
Okay, so muy buenas tardes y bienvenidos. Si alguien prefiere que la conversación sea en inglés y en español, por favor indiquen en el chat o use la herramienta de subir la mano.
All right, great. All right, so I thought we could also then start with some introductions. One of the first people I'd like to introduce is one of our other guests here, Michelle Bressler. Michelle, if you could just say hello. She is the program director of the Certificate of Human Lactation program at Portland State. And Michelle, is there anything that you would just like to start off the afternoon with?
Bienvenidos todos. Yo tengo un poco español, un poco quebrado, digo, pero estoy feliz to welcome you all here.
Great, thank you. And then next, I'm going to actually go ahead and let Veronica introduce herself, and maybe just give us a little bit of how she arrived at where she's at in her lactation community journey.
Sure, thank you. Well, hello everyone. My name is Veronica Lopez Ericksen. I go by ella, she, her pronouns, and currently I'm the Parent-Child Family Health Director for Multnomah County Public Health, overseeing and supporting our home visiting programs, which include Healthy Birth Initiatives, Nurse Family Partnership, Healthy Families, the FGC contracting with our Native communities, and a couple more. And I came to IBCLC to lactation as a nurse. I went to nursing school, and after becoming a nurse and doing home visits with families, realized there was a little bit more skills that I could have in order to support and really advocate for families. I was part of the founding group of a employee ERG, an employee resource group here at the county called FAM, Family Advocates of MOLCO. And we were really going after supporting families or working families, particularly working moms, after our own personal experiences with being working moms, and really decided to put some of that advocacy to work and started to do some policy change around creating safe, clean, private lactation rooms, and also advocating for parental leave. Because if we're not supporting moms and babies or parenting people together in those crucial weeks, that early period, then we're really not supporting lactation. So really it's out of some personal experience and out of the needs that I saw in my Latina community and also in the communities that we were serving in the home visiting programs.
Thank you.
Sorry, I was muted. Rocio, how about you? Why don't you go ahead and just give us a little bit about who you are and your journey so far?
So my name is Rocio. I'm a clinical programs manager for a local nonprofit. I'm also one of the nurses here on site. I've been in the healthcare community industry for about 20 years. I obtained my bachelor's degree in nursing from Linfield Good Samaritan. During one of my rotations in nursing school, I had the opportunity to follow a lactation consultant. She was, I really enjoyed following her, and I really enjoyed her approach. She used her approach was for people to use what they had in their home, not having to go out and buy stuff or invest in anything. And I really liked that approach a lot, because I think you know, a lot of these new breastfeeding parents want to just dedicate time to their child. They might not have support to run out to the store, or they themselves. You know, it's a difficult time, and we want that bond to happen with the mother and child. I have my own personal experience. I have 4 kids, breastfed all of them. Very huge, big opportunity, privilege that I was able to do that. And here currently where I work, I live in Yamhill County and work in Yamhill County. There's 1 lactation consultant for all of Yamhill County in WIC, just 1. And I've had the pleasure of meeting her, and I really wanted to make that impact on our community. And so hopefully adding another lactation consultant here in Yamhill County will open up more opportunities for women to be able to have an opportunity to breastfeed or breastfeed comfortably. Thank you.
Great. Yeah, thank you so much. I also see that we have a couple other participants joining us today, and just wondering if either one of you would like to introduce yourselves and maybe share what brought you to our conversation today.
I won't put my camera on because I haven't done my hair, but my name is Jessica, and I'm a junior at PSU. I'll be starting my junior year this year, and I'll be doing the human lactation certificate. And so I'm here. That's really what brought me in. I'm you know, first generation Mexican American, and so I just finished. My son is 3, but that experience is what propelled me to come back to school and figure out what I can do to have a career in this field. I fell in love with all things postpartum and lactation. And so I'm here, and I'm excited to be completing this program in the next couple of years.
Great, fantastic. Yeah. Okay. So maybe Rocio or Veronica could help me out. I don't want to mispronounce anybody's name, or maybe the other participant can share the pronunciation of her name or not. Okay. All right. So maybe they'll come back. So kind of in keeping with our National Breastfeeding Month theme of talking about our why, I just wanted to share a quick conversation I actually had this morning with another healthcare provider that knows that I work as a lactation consultant in conjunction with being the clinical instructor here for the program. And he was asking me about blogging and vlogging. He's a little bit older, so he's like, what is all this stuff? And so we were talking about it, and he said, well, how come you've never done like a lactation blog? Why don't you have more of a you know, electronic footprint? Why don't you have more of a social media presence? And it didn't take me long to answer, because I think for me, my why and why I'm here today is one of the things that was important to me is finding what is my specific talent in helping families achieve their feeding goals. And over the years, what I've recognized is I think one of my strengths is being able to educate and support those who are going into this field. I think that that's where one of my talents lie. And so my why, the reason I'm here today is because I just really enjoy being an educator. My students sometimes don't believe me, but I actually learn more from them than they might learn from me. And that's what keeps me going. That's what keeps me excited about my position. So that's why I'm here today. How about any of our other participants? With, you know, Rocio and Veronica, you're welcome to share your why. Michelle, you're welcome to share your why. Yeah. And then Jessica, if you're, you know, if you're comfortable, you can maybe share a little bit with us, you know, why you're interested in getting into the program in the, you know, in the first place. Kind of where do you see that taking you?
Yeah, I had my son during COVID in 2020, and so I wasn't able to get in-person lactation help. I didn't feel comfortable. Sorry, my window's open. Hopefully you can't hear all of that outside. So I ended up exclusively pumping all through that first year. We tried, I now know that my son has a lip tie, but back then I didn't know that. And so I really struggled. I was online on YouTube doing all the things, and I ended up getting my doula certificate just a couple of months ago. And that's really, I think, postpartum. I'm noticing that that's what's calling me. And I think it was my experience. And I'm excited. I know, even amongst my peers that have children, I'm in my 30s, in my early 30s, I don't know a lot of people that have breastfed. And so I really think, kind of restarting that, bringing that back. And I would love to see more people be open to breastfeeding.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for sharing. Yes, thank you so much. And congratulations on becoming a doula. Yes.
Thank you. I haven't put it into practice yet because I went back to school at the same time. So I've been doing a lot right now, but I'm hoping that in the near future, I can do postpartum doula and lactation.
Great. And so for Veronica and Rocio, maybe, you know, you can talk about your whys a little bit. And I'd also be interested to know too, like, as you talk about your why, you know, what kind of challenges have you seen specifically for the communities that you serve? And how has your own experience and your own culture informed your practice of serving these communities?
I don't mind going first. So my why has always been to reduce childhood obesity. I have always believed in the ripple effect. You empower one person with knowledge and they will continue to empower others, and so on. As a community health nurse, I have had the opportunity to work with patients. I have been diagnosed with like hypertension or diabetes, work on their food intake and problem solving, using motivational interviewing, and I look forward to using these skills as a lactation consultant. That was my beginning why, and that's evolved into now I want to help women with mental health, especially as Jessica had brought up during COVID-19, there was a lot of social isolation. And so I want to be able to, you know, not just be there in person, but to see their reactions and ask, you know, have you had time to sleep? Have you had time to brush your teeth? Which is one that was always asked to me with my children. And I always found it weird, but you know, it just takes the time, like something so simple that you're like, actually, no, I haven't had the time. And so those are like my two whys.
Yeah. And so it sounds like even over even if it was a small period of time, your whys have kind of evolved, you know, as you've gotten further into your journey. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's great. It's very similar, and I think what resonated was hearing about the, you know, learning more from community members than I could ever possibly bring to the homes, and also as a nurse home visitor, it was really learning from the community about the challenges and the barriers to breastfeeding, that this was cultural wisdom and cultural knowledge that we've brought to this country, and for various reasons that the barriers exist here that don't exist in our countries of origin. And so it was definitely for me, using that skill set of advocacy and support to look at how to dismantle those barriers to breastfeeding. We were great at initiating, so we bring that cultural wisdom, and regardless of what we're told in the hospital, we know what's best for our babies. And so we were great at initiating. It's just that, right at 6 weeks or even at 6 months, where the drop off was, started to look at what the statistics were telling us about the rates significantly falling at those time periods, and wondering why, and looking at ways to support families through paid family leave, through other policies, particularly at the counties. I felt like if we could support our county employees, and we could maybe then take it to the state and continue on from there. But it's it's a huge hill to climb, as we know. And so I think for sure it was looking at the barriers, and also bringing honor to my own ancestry and my own ancestral knowledge, and those that came before me, who used to be the go-to people for lactation support. My grandmothers were those people, as curanderas and parteras in El Salvador, going to homes and really supporting new moms with their herbal knowledge and plant knowledge of what helps and what hinders. And so looking to tap into that cultural wisdom and ancestral knowledge as well. I was a child, so I really didn't pay attention as I should have. My grandmother tried to teach me all these things, and I could remember I could attain a little bit of it, but really it was going into the community, serving my own people in our language, that I was learning from them. Oh yes, I remember that from grandma, or yeah, my abuelita would, that's right, it's ruda, or that's right, it's this, and this is the herbs or the plants that we use, or the grains, avena, and whole grains, and everything that we have in our lands. So it's kind of giving back in that way, honoring our ancestral knowledge, and also learning, being reminders of that cultural knowledge in our community as well.
Yes. How wonderful when you speak of your grandmother. This is the first I'm hearing of her, and how much I would love to have a conversation with her too. Yeah, it's definitely. Yeah, so I'm just wondering too, if any of us here today, particularly Rocio, Veronica, and Jessica, can think of ways. I also heard we do talk about barriers to serving our particular communities. But Veronica, you'd also spoken to some of those great strengths of that cultural wisdom that you have. Have any of you seen ways where you can kind of break down those barriers with that cultural wisdom that have, larger implication for, access to care, let's say, or ways families are cared for, that you've either can think about or actually seen in practice, that you've experienced?
Can I throw in one thing? Sometimes at work we get oh, well, she's not going to use they're going to do both right now because that's what their culture says. And I told that to a colleague of mine. She said, guess what? We can change things too. We can learn that, that's kind of what we found out is colostrum is a perfect food, and we can move on from the old, kind of myth that, and also encourage us as staff to still educate. Like, we can't just like, oh, never mind.
Mhm.
Does anyone, have you run into that stereotype maybe?
Yes, absolutely. I think, firsthand experience with that, with my firstborn, my son was born with jaundice, and so we were separated a little bit at the beginning and had a rough start. And so I had a delay in lactogenesis, which is the production of milk initially. And but again, just tapping into what I could hear my grandmother right there, just saying, no, this is what we do. This is our culture, and we have to that pecho, and you're gonna, that pecho, and as much as I tried, I was asking for help with the nurses, and we were trying to help. I spoke with the lactation consultant, who was also trying to help. And I think it was really knowing what I know, and advocating, being able to advocate for myself, asking about a pump, asking about the SNS system. I was going to do whatever it took to nurse this child. And they kept saying, well, we know that most people in your culture will give both, and you can do both. And I said, no, I'm going to pump my milk and put it in a little tube and syringe, or however I'm going to get it. I'll put it in a little cup. I'll do a paladire, whatever it is that you have. Give it to me. I'm going to use it. And it was really a lot of that self-advocacy, in order to get to those goals that I had for myself. And with my daughter, it was I had the knowledge again, I had the advocacy, but I didn't have the environmental support. And so it was, oh, sure, you can pump at work and you can take your breaks and, nurse your child. But it was, excuse me, I have to go where now? Where do you want to send me to do this? It was all about, oh yeah, here's a closet, or here's the bathroom, and again, it was, it's not so much, that we have, that we tap into those stereotypes of, oh, de los dos cosas, fórmula and le voy a dar pecho, and, well, si no le puedo dar pecho, le doy fórmula. It's more about, we know what's best for our babies, and it's both the environmental and social factors that impede us from doing that. And so with my daughter, like I said, it was, oh no, this is not acceptable. And it was really being part of the founding members of this employee resource group to support lactating people and birthing people in our county, to find safe, private, clean places to nurse and pump. I felt like, we have to start here, and then definitely be able to advocate from here on out.
Yes. Yes, I sometimes will struggle when I'm at the hospitals with, kind of what you were talking about, Michelle, and definitely what you were talking about, Veronica, about these assumed stereotypic ways of feeding that, we've all heard. But then also, understanding that because somebody might speak a particular language doesn't mean all the culture is the same, and there's differences even there. And so I have had lots of conversations with staff about, if you have somebody, particularly some, Spanish speaker, don't assume A, where they're from, and B, what their practices are. Ask them what they are, and don't assume what they are. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. So I'm just wanting to be mindful of time. I want to respect people's time. I know Michelle wanted to share a few things about the program, but before we do, I just wanted to ask any of our guests here today, if there was, since we're kind of talking about the lactation program and how we can, help students become really fantastic lactation caregivers, if there was any I know there's not one single thing, but if you could think of something that I could bring back to class to share with my class, what would you like the students the students to know?
Active listening, especially I think when you're working with other cultures, sometimes you're working with another language, you're working with an interpreter.
Mhm.
And what I see is people trying to establish a relationship with the interpreter versus with the patient. And so when you're doing that, you're not actively listening, you're not seeing the body language that they're expressing. And that's also so important when working with other cultures. I think especially in our culture, I think sometimes it's like we tend to, in Veronica, you can say something else that I might be wrong on this, but what I see is we tend to tense up. We're hesitant and there's like this jaw tightening. And until you see that they're establishing this rapport, then all of a sudden it's like, okay, all right, they are listening to me, not establishing rapport with the interpreter, but they're listening to me. Holding the baby tighter. There's just so many cues in the body language. And so an active listening is so important.
Great. Thank you for that, Rocio. Yes. Great. All right. So anything else, maybe Veronica or Jessica, you would like to share before Michelle gets started?
I'm still a student, so I have nothing to share. If anything, I'd love to hear this. I'd love to hear this input. This is good information for me to receive.
Good. All right, Michelle. So why don't you go ahead and I think you have a little slide presentation for us.
It's all of 2 slides, so don't get too excited. So just Jessica, this is kind of straight for you. This is the pathway 2, which is one way to become a lactation consultant. And it all starts with getting your health sciences prerequisites. And then once you have all those, we have a 100-hour lactation education course. And at this point, we can offer it both in a virtual recorded format or a live, but still virtual format. So some people like I want to do it at 2 a.m. when my kids are in bed. I'll do it whenever, where other people no, I have Tuesday morning. Let me meet with this group then. And I think Veronica, you probably did yours was it a hybrid, or you were a few years ago when it was a little bit different, maybe?
Yes, it was a hybrid, with some sessions in person and then a lot on Zoom online.
Exactly. Cool. And then Rocio, I think you did the live but not in person. It was all Zoom. Great. Nice. And then the next step, if you decide to get the clinical hours with the pathway 2, is interviewing for the practicum. And a certain set of folks will move forward where we help them arrange their clinical hours. So if selected, you'll have to do health screenings, background checks, and then do a clinical prep class, which is what we're in the midst of right now. And then at the end of the month, folks are placed in clinical situations around, well, everywhere, because because we can work with people in other states as well. So, and then you're aiming for 300 hours of experience over the 3 quarters. So you finish your 3 quarters, and then you get to study for the exam over the course of the summer. So we have students from our last group who that's what they're doing exactly right now.
Mhm.
And then, so they'll take their test in a little bit, and then in December, they'll finally find out the results. Veronica, maybe you can mention what it was like waiting and waiting. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think my coursework was a bit interrupted with COVID. Had started in 2019 and doing in person, which is great because we got to meet each other as a cohort and do some study groups and activities together. Look at the pumps, in person and role play and all that, which is so crucial, I think, to lactation. And so, as you mentioned, Rocio, and just having that camaraderie too with other people who are learning, and Jessica too, you were saying about how important lactation support is to be in person, not so much the hands-on, but just to feel the support, the warmth and rapport from the person trying to support you and help you or assist you. It's very important to feel that presence, for sure. Yeah.
And like Rocio mentioned, it's a lot easier to read body language when you have more than just this much. All right, so this is just our little promo slide. So for more questions or advising, or if you have along these next few years, Jessica, and for anyone else who's watching this later, we are available for advising appointments, which we can do on the phone or virtual, or you can even come into our office down here in Portland. So with that, I'll turn it back to Rachel to close up.
Forgetting about my microphone. I too have some noise in the background, and that's why I kept muting myself. First of all, I just want to say, Jessica, it was so great that you were able to join us today. I've have had some introduction to Veronica before, but I also have been working with Rocio in the summer class already, and really looking forward to helping her get her clinical started in the fall. And as Michelle said, we are always around to answer questions. We love, being able to provide prospective students with the information that they need to kind of help make decisions on, how to navigate the program. And we're here with you every step of the way. I'm still even in contact with students who had finished the program, not this last year, but the year before. Michelle's, she's been in the program a little bit longer. And so I know that she's still in contact with students that it might have been several years since they've even taken the exam. And so we're still here to support even, how you then are able to, apply your new lactation knowledge and, your new certification in your community by helping support in ways that we can to then help you secure those positions where you're set up to help families really well. Yeah. So we're always here to answer any questions that you have. And please share information too, if you know others who are interested in the program and what we can do for you. We'd love to help you with that and love to answer. I'd also like to thank Veronica and Rocio for spending time with us this afternoon too. It's always my pleasure to speak with both of you. And again, even in this conversation, again, I've learned something new that I didn't know before, and I really, really appreciate. And I feel it's my privilege and my honor to be able to learn from all of you. So again, thank you for being with us today and sharing with us today. Really appreciate it. And as always, thank you, Michelle. She's our, she's my tech support person. So she helps me run the tech when I can't do two things at the same time. I sometimes difficulty. So no, but I always appreciate when Michelle and I can conduct conversations like this together. We've been working together for a long time, and I feel like I even have support in being able to facilitate these kinds of conversations from Michelle. And so Michelle, I always appreciate when we can do these together. Yeah. So thank you too for being here. So with that, unless Jessica, you have any additional questions, I want to again be mindful of Rocio and Veronica's time. And so if you two need to sign off, but Jessica, if you want to stick around, if you have some more questions, we're happy to stick around and answer questions for you.
No, I don't have any questions, but thank you. I saw the link and I wanted to hop on and hear a little bit more. So I really appreciate it.
Great. All right. Well, everybody have a great afternoon, great weekend. The weather's supposed to be fantastic. So I hope you can get outside.
Bye.
Great, thank you.